Welcome to a new episode of the Glowed Up Show.
First one of 2020.
First one of 2020. Snap it up.
Hey.
Atlas is not here, so I'm hitting you with the run. It's your boy Doobie Duke Sims here with Malgosha, Riser, and my homie Louis Rossmann.
Hey.
Welcome to the Glowed Up Show.
Atlas is sick. He made out with way too many girls.
It's hard not to.
Hard life.
When you're Atlas, you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah,
they
when
just
you're-
come in like flies.
It's just like flies.
So Louis is our second guest ever, right? We had Cruz in the last episode, which was dope. You know what I'm saying? The dope thing about this show is just like we have like this energy and we creating something that's new, new for all of us. I've never been on a podcast before. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's really like, it's like a big canvas and it's like whatever colors we want to put on it. Yeah. So like having Cruz on was dope. Like we had our first guest. Now we have another guest, my homie Louis. Me and Louis back in the days where I met everybody in Shinobi, like, one of my first jobs ever, like in life. My man Dave Levitt let me watch the desk, allowed me to watch the desk, paid me $8 an hour.
Oh shit.
Aggressive.
Must have liked me more. I got 10.
Oh yeah, I eventually got 10. Now he started me at 8, and a homie named Forever, Sammy Fields, Forever Fields, who taught us about the dimensions. You know what I mean? The 11 dimensions. That was Forever, 100%. And anyways, long story short, so Louis started working at the studio. So like my first job when I got $8 an hour and then I got $10, like Louis became the new me, right? At a certain point, it was like I had been there from like 2004 to like 2008. Well, 2008 it closed. You know what I mean? And Louis, you started in like 2007.
2007, yeah.
2007. So like by the end of it, and Michael Gregory too, who will be another person to have on the show, be an awesome guest from the Gregory brothers. Like
They're hysterical.
yeah. So Mike, did you work with Mike at the same time?
Yeah.
Where it's like,
Hey, he started as an intern.
yeah, man. It's like, and so there was this one studio, man. It was like so legendary. It was like our own private college. Like it's like I went on my first tours.
Where was this? Where?
It's right in Hell's Kitchen. Film. It doesn't exist anymore, but in the Film Center building, which still exists.
Okay.
Right.
Where's that?
45th and 9th.
Okay.
It's an architectural firm now.
Yeah, on the 7th floor.
Wow.
Yo, it was real estate, you know what I mean? But my man Dave Levitt had the real estate, and he had this studio, and it was super dope. Like, it was kind of like hood, but at the same time, it was working. And so, like, he connected with a dude named Forever, who was like a G back in the day. Had all the dope studios back in the days and made a lot of money, recorded Stevie Wonder, all different people, made a lot of money, and then found mysticism and gave up all his money or gave away his money or something like that. And when he was coming back, and he started a studio with Dave Levitt, who already had rehearsal spaces. So now Dave Levitt had rehearsal spaces and a recording studio, and that's when he needed people to watch the desk for vocal classes where Baby G, the mother of my daughter and the lead singer of Shinobi Ninja, and my girls, like, she was taking class. She was dancing for Cassie and P. Diddy and all these different people. Like, the people that were in the Broadway Dance Center, all the dancers were coming there, taking vocal class from Craig Derry, who was in the Sugar Hill Gang.
Yeah,
It was
shout
just
out to Craig Derry.
yeah,
Wow.
man. It was a crazy spot. So I met Louis, right? And so now Louis, tell him about yourself, Louis.
I started working there because I wanted to be a recording engineer. And the thing is, as you all know, nothing there ever worked. And I had kind of a technical background, and I wasn't a musician, so I realized I was pretty bad at actually working with artists and recording music. But I was good at making stuff work. So that's how that's what the role that I got to play into there, and also that, and kind of being a babysitter for the people that didn't want to leave at the end of the day.
Facts.
So I worked there, and then I would work at Avatar Studios at night from 4 to 12, and I would work there from I think like 11 to 4. So that was pretty much like just 4
Wow.
hours
That's
a
the
day.
grind
and I would
right
commute
there,
in from
man.
Staten Island, so I'd get to Progressive around 11 or 12. I'd leave at 3 or 4 to go to Avatar. I work at Avatar from 4 to 12. I get the 1:30 bus home. I get home at 3 and then start again. And I worked at Avatar for about 6 months. And then I quit because I thought there was kind of a limit to where I was going to go. So I started at Avatar when I was 17 years old as a tech there. And the youngest other employee there was about 23 or 26. And they called the people who were 26 around that age the kids. So I thought to myself, I could be here for 9 years and I will still be one of the kids. So I left, and then I went on to work at other places to fix stuff. The recession happened at the end of 2008. Progressive closed, and I was supposed to work on this music for Clarel. And yeah,
Clarel was one of our homies. He
Yeah.
used to also teach the vocal class with Craig. Craig and Clarel taught the vocal class.
Yeah, so
Okay.
Craig did the class and Clarel did the private sessions. And I was working on some music with him, but I needed a Mac. And I didn't have a Mac at home because I don't use them. So I bought one on eBay and it showed up broken. And I figured out I could get a discount from the person if I got this is like 12 years ago, so I don't remember exactly. But I got some sort of discount because I had to buy my own part to fix it.
Right.
Then Dave wound up moving to another spot, so I didn't need that machine to work on it anymore. So I sold it, and I made about $250. And I thought, working for Dave, like half of the time I'd be taking my money out of the vending machine if I didn't get paid at the end of the day. So like I just saw that I make $400 a month, if even. I just got paid $200 for something that took 20 minutes. Let me try that again.
Word.
And then I bought another one and sold it, and then I did it, and then I kept doing it, and then it kind of snowballed into a
flipping them.
business with me. And then I wound up doing house calls around the city to do it for other people, and then it snowballed into me opening a store 3 years later. Now that store has about 13 or 14 people working for it, and
Originally, it was just Lou.
yeah, it was just me
I would go
traveling
check
around the
Lou
city.
check Lou at the store. Like Lou got a store, which was big.
Right.
Now Lou's store is on. Can we say what the store is?
Yeah, it's First and 12th.
First and 12th. Now that's prime location real estate.
course,
That's a G move right there.
Yeah.
So for me at that time, I was like, yo, Lou just made a G move.
Okay.
Yeah, so in order to afford that place, because I didn't have the money for the deposit, I sold a bunch of repair services on eBay for below value, like $50 below everybody else, to where I was barely making any money, just so I'd have the money. And then PayPal would hold the money if you had a new eBay account. So in order to get them to release the money, you'd have to ship it. So what I did is I shipped everybody a little pamphlet that explained about our business, what makes us different from everybody else, grade A screens, blah, blah, blah. And then PayPal would release the money. But in the eBay listing, I put, this is heavily discounted, but there's a 6 to 12-week turnaround time. So I wound up so I got about, $5,000 or $10,000 in money from repairs that I would need to do later. I gave that to the landlord so that I'd be able to have my last deposit.
G move.
And then I wound up staying there until 1 or 4 in the morning every single day. It was a bet that I would have business in the future, because if I didn't, I would go bankrupt. So I had business, so I'd handle my normal business in the day, and then I would stay there until 1 or 2 in the morning to handle all the mail and stuff that I took on, because I had about 100 to 200 people that bought all this stuff because it was below value.
Louis.
It was kind of
Keep going, Lou. Keep telling me.
yeah, I just ran a Ponzi scheme on my time. And that was that. And then I was outsourcing board repair to a company in China. And we slowly started to get tired of how bad they were. Like if you spill water on your machine and Apple tells you need a new board for $700 to $1,500, we would tell you that you needed, we'll have someone fix your board. The Chinese company would get paid $60 to $100, and we would charge, $140 to $300 at the time for the service. And they got increasingly bad at it. I'm never going to forget there was one day where we sent them a machine that wasn't booting up into the
Chinese
OS.
people. You're saying the Chinese people got bad at it.
Yeah, they got bad at it. So we sent them a board. It wasn't booting into the OS. We got it back. We got charged $87, and it had the same problem. And we asked him, so what'd you do? And he reads the notes, and he goes, they couldn't get it to boot into Mac OS, so they tried booting it into Windows 7 off a USB, and it worked, so we considered it fixed and sent it back to you. And I said, okay, so what did you do to it? And then we boot it into Windows 7. Like, you billed me $87 to boot this into Windows 7. Like, screw this, I'm going to figure this out. Yeah. So I figured, I have experience working on old stuff, like from Avatar, like SSL G4, 4000, J9000 consoles, the Neve 8088 or the LA2As and stuff like that.
Opening shit up and seeing what's in. And
so let me see if I can figure this out. And the people I was working with said, so what's your experience with this stuff? And I go, working on electronics from 1951 to 1976. And like, oh, so you have experience with this? And I said, nope, but I'll figure it out. And they're kind of like, a little snickering under their breath. They're being respectful because I'm their boss, but it's...
They don't know it's Louis,
yeah, they figure like, what the hell are you going to figure
know
this
it
out?
was you, though.
So I sat there until 4 or 5 in the morning every single day for about a year. And then I finally got to a point in the summer of 2014 where it just clicked for me, and I started to figure it out much better. And I just started recording videos of what I was figuring out. So I had this little $100 JVC camera hanging over my shoulder while I'm doing the work.
This is another move right here that Louis just made. So hold up, let me jump for 1 second. So Louis opened up his own store. When I would go check Louis, it would just be Lou, like he said, till 1 in the morning. But I would say, yo, Louis, like, you just open your own store. Like, that's so dope.
Yeah.
So then I would check in on Louis every couple of years. And every time I would check in on Louis, there'd be like 2 more people working there, 4 people working there, 7 people working there, 10 people, 10 people. The last time I came to see Lou, there was like 15, 16 people working there. He had 2 secretaries. And when I came in, I was like, yo, I'm here to see Louis. And they were like, who are you? Like, what's your name? Like, we'll see if he's here. It's like, yo, man, it's like, but all right, so Louis blew up his business, right? Now tell him the next move that you did.
So after I started doing that, the one thing I started doing is filming how I did the work. And many people said this is dumb for 2 reasons. A, if you're good, you'll show other people how to do it. Why would you show your competition how to do your job? And if you're bad, you're showing the world that you suck. So I mean, and in the beginning, I sucked, but I didn't care. I figured let me show the journey of figuring out how to do this, just for the hell of it, just for fun. because it bothered me a lot that there were no guides online on how to do this. No one was showing how to do it. And my dad always used to say, if you don't like that the world is a certain way, then well, do something. Be the part of the change you want to see in the world. So I say, all right, let's figure out if I can figure this out. And I have my little $100 JVC camcorder as I'm working. And some of those videos are just pure cringe. I have wires that are damn near speaker gauge wires running across these boards, and it looked terrible. But I got better with time. And then people started reaching out to me saying, "Are you do you teach how to do this? I want to learn how to do this. I'll pay you $1,000 a day to figure out how to do this." So I started getting more serious with the videos. I got a more proper camera that the TSA just partially destroyed last week while I was traveling to Washington. I got a better setup for everything. I hired someone else to help me up front so that I could focus on doing this, and I started just doing videos of board repair. And more people started watching on a regular basis, and then it just kind of exploded when I started producing content regarding what I perceived as Apple screwing the consumer. Because these would typically be just side remarks I would make in a video, but people thought it was interesting. Like, oh, I didn't know that Apple...
talk more on that.
Yeah, they really were curious about this. So, like, for example, they used to have a diagnostic software. You'd hold down the button, and it would tell you what sensor failed in your machine. So you could just figure out, okay, do I replace my trackpad, or is it a board problem? On the new machine, they released something where when you hit that same key, it would show you a warning that said, it would get like PFM, whatever, and you go on their website, and the website would say, bring to Genius Bar.
Or they don't even want you messing with it.
And then when you go to the Genius Bar, only Apple has the tools to tell you which sensor failed, but they will not actually replace the component with the failed sensor. So the only people who have access to the tool to do their job are the people who are not going to do the job. I thought this is ridiculous. So I did a video on that in, I think, 2015, and front page Reddit several times, and that just kind of snowballed from there. And then they started making exclusivity agreements with manufacturers. So let's say that there's a charging chip in the machine. I used to be able to spend $5 or $10, buy this chip on Mouser or DigiKey, any electronics reseller, and be able to fix the person's machine for like my labor plus the cost of the part. So they started going to companies like Intersil and saying, hey, don't sell this chip to anybody but us. Don't let people from Mouser or DigiKey or blah, blah, blah sell it. I don't know the exact arrangement, but you can't buy it on any of these sites. And if you contact any of them and say, I want to buy this, they'll say, oh, yeah, you can't buy it because only certain companies are allowed to buy this chip. So there's this bill called the Right to Repair Bill, which would stop them from doing things like this. Either stop being dicks or supply parts, like one or the other. And I started recording and I started showing up at hearings in mid-2015 about trying to get this bill passed in New York City. And I'm never going to forget, in 2015, in May, I go up to a legislature, and I speak to one of these old assembly people, and I asked, so, what are the lobbyist counter-arguments to this? And they said, well, they said that when you're working on a MacBook, if you change out a fuse or a surface mount component, you then turned it into a PC. But then when you give it back to your customer, you're representing it as if it's still a Mac when now it's a PC. And I think, like, my blood pressure, I probably got a year taken off my life just from the reaction that I had to him saying that, just from holding it in. And then I explained, in the politest way possible, friendly to a politician, why that is complete bullshit. And I said, so why was that allowed to stand? And he said, because you never showed up. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, this is the first time anybody's ever showing up to present a counter-argument. If somebody's talking to you about something in the medical industry that you don't know about, and one person shows up who says, here's my credentials, I'm an expert, and the opposition doesn't show up, who do you believe?
Man,
and then I started showing up to every single hearing that I possibly could and recording them. And they say ridiculous shit. They say that the magnetometer in your microwave will explode. It's called the Magnetron, and it doesn't explode. My friend Jessa Jones actually had her toddler daughters, I think they're 8 or 9 years old, replace it for a school project. And, they would say all sorts of just complete ridiculous crap, like the boats exploding and going on fire, everything going on fire, batteries going on fire. You would live in a bubble if you believe it.
You'd be scared all the time.
Yeah, so I started recording it. And I've been traveling the country recording more and more of these hearings. And what's interesting is that they'll announce in the beginning of the hearing, they'll say, this is a private hearing. They'll say, this is a public hearing. This is being recorded. There's a camera. It's being recorded and live streamed. Okay? Okay. Then they'll testify. I'll record it. They'll say something ridiculous that's just fundamentally not true. And it'll get up to YouTube. It'll get 500,000 views. And then they'll say, oh, no, that's violating my privacy. We want you to take that down.
Because the videos that Lou puts up, Lou just hit a million subscribers, and now he's at 1,100,000. You're doing like 150,000 a month, something like this, right?
Just like 50,000 new subscribers a month about.
A month, you know what I'm saying?
Small
but
number.
every video that Lou puts up gets a lot of views. So then the politicians, they get that bounce back right away. Like, oh, did you see Lou's new video? They just boom, boom, boom. So now Lou is dealing with the energy.
So you're
bouncing
not
back.
blacklisted from those places?
The thing is, I'm not blacklisted from the legislatures as much as I think the lobbyists would prefer that I am. There's a privacy complaint. There's a few people have submitted privacy complaints saying this video, violates my right to privacy. Which is ridiculous. It's a government building. It's a public hearing. It was announced that it was a public hearing before you showed up. And if you're a paid lobbyist, you actually have to submit paperwork with the city and the state that said that that anybody can look up. Like you could show up at that hearing in Nebraska, and you don't have to ever live there or visited there. You're just allowed to show up, and you can listen to it. And you could look up on their website and see that this person with this information is a paid lobbyist for this company. It's all public.
Paid lobbyists.
And there's
Yo,
a lot
that's the vibe right there, yo, America.
Yeah, and there's a lot of, and then there are certain people that say, this person is aggravating us, or this, Louis is making videos that are mean towards us. And it's like, I'm not being mean. I'm simply recording the things that you say.
You're becoming their enemy, B.
No, like I'm a conduit for the people that would say the same things if they were there. This is one of the important things because
Lou's a patriot, yo.
It's too many people I think worship people rather than principles. It's like people are not showing up excited because they see me on the screen. If I'm fixing a board, it's because everybody else just says I don't know what to do, and I try to have this little detective process and I teach it. I think, and when it comes to the legislation, it's I'll create an argument. They'll have a bad argument. I'll propose a good counter argument, and I'll say it. And I'm not gonna take it down just because people say, hey, that's not really polite. That's not really what you should do. Can you just kind of I know they said something that's not really true, but can you just unlist that video? I don't do it. And I don't think the people are here, a million people are here to watch me. I could be swapped out for someone else. I think they're here for the principles, and I think they're here for the
truth that you're speaking. You're speaking your truth, man.
Yeah, it's not me.
Word. You connected to, you guys watch Abraham Hicks?
Yeah, duh.
You watch Abraham Hicks?
Yeah, hello.
Yo, I feel like Lou is the source.
Oh my God,
Lou is Abraham. Where you are Abraham, Lou.
So when did it click? When it clicked, okay, from one thing to another, and then you decided, okay, I need to do that. Did you hear, did you have a moment when you wake up one night, I'm going to start doing this, and this is how I'm going to, what's the process? Why? Why are you doing what you're doing?
It seemed like the best thing to do at the time. When I made $250 for reselling a machine and I realized that I make $400 a month, a little bell went off and said, let me try that again. That's worth it. And I just kept following it. And then
were there moments where it didn't work out? Let's say you were you were flipping it. What were those moments like? Can you talk a little bit about that?
It's awful. It's like a gut punch. Or I'll get something where I'll lose $600 on it, or I will. Let's see. There was one time when I was testifying in one state where the co-sponsors of the bill were actually explaining why they thought it wasn't a good bill, but you're the one that's supposed to be for it. Right before I even get to speak, and I just have to sit there through it. That doesn't feel fun. There was in the beginning when I was trying to fix a board, and I think I was close to getting it, and it's 2 a.m, and I just want to go home, and just I see a little puff of smoke. But those times suck.
Yeah.
You have to. The thing is, you have to see that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Because if there's no light, if you don't know what you're heading for, and you're not making small advancements towards it, you'll just get depressed and not do it. But if you can make small advancements, you really make the goals really small. I'll be happy if I can even take this component off of this board and put it back on. Even if it doesn't work, I'll just be happy if I can do that.
Small victories.
I'll be happy if I can have a conversation with a legislator and not get tossed out of the building by security because I'm pretending I'm a lobbyist when I'm not. If you just make these really small goals, it helps me to not get discouraged when something goes wrong.
What's your big goal?
The big goal?
Do you want to be a politician?
No.
Okay.
I like my life.
I like my life.
All right. She want to know what's the big goal?
Yeah, the big goal is to just keep doing what I'm doing right now. I'd like to see, when it comes to right to repair, I'd like to see not even legislation passed. I'd like to see people voluntarily work at these companies, whether it's on the board or the engineers or the people starting new companies, start them with repair in mind. Don't be, the people who grew up watching my stuff, who then become engineers, they go on to work at these companies because, I started doing a lot of more board repair stuff in 2014. That's 6 years. So if somebody started watching me when they were 15, they're getting out of college and they're interning at some of these companies.
Right.
And they'll reach out to me and say, I got into electronics because I started watching your stuff, and now I have this engineering position. And, you said that you weren't able to get these schematics. Man, I think I put the wrong shipping label on it when I was sending it to my colleague. It looks like it's going to your store. That type of stuff. They want the stuff that I'm looking for to be out there. Or when they're opening their own businesses, they're not going to open businesses and tell the company that makes the charging chip, don't sell to anybody but us so that we can get $1,500. They're going to be disgusted by that. It's kind of like if you're growing up in the modern climate and you become a district attorney, you're going to look at somebody who has to be prosecuted because he sold this much weed, and you're going to just be like, I'm too busy for this. Because you grew up surrounded by people who smoked weed, who were peaceful.
So you know it's nothing. You already know it's nothing.
Yeah, so you know that this is bullshit. Let me focus on the murder. And this is the kind of thing I'm trying to go for here. When people start companies or get on the become board members of these companies or become engineers of these companies, when they're told, don't allow these chips to be sold to anybody else, I want them to all just walk out because they grew up watching this stuff. They don't want to be a part of it.
Lou said not to do this.
That's the long-term goal.
Word.
Obviously, the other long-term goal is, the short-term goal is just be able to open the new store that I'm doing on 27th.
Tell people about that.
Oh, cool. That was my next question.
Let us know what's the next big move.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I read online that for chickens to not peck at each other and have all their feathers fall off, you're supposed to have about 100 to 120 square foot per chicken so that they don't become violent. And at my current store, we have about 40 to 50
things to know.
Yeah, so we have 40 to 50 square foot per employee because we have about 13 or 14 people and about 650 square feet, including the bathroom.
Okay.
So at my store right now, I give employees half the amount of personal space that chickens are supposed to have to not kill each other.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Yeah,
that's funny.
It's like he saw there's no place for you to sit when you show up.
Yo, it was small when it was just Lou. And think about 16 people all like this. Homies is like this too, and they got little soldering joints with magnifying glass, and like you trying to walk through everybody.
It's really uncomfortable. So I want to move to that place, be able to keep doing what I'm doing, but also in the legislative part, I want to keep recording as many of these hearings as I can. To me, it's not even so much about getting bills passed, so much as it is exposing people who say things that are not true. So there was this one lobbyist named Charlie Brown that said, one of the things that we do is we make sure that when you get your phone back, it doesn't have TikTok installed on it. He's implying that independent repair, if you get your phone fixed, they're going to install malware and crap on your phone.
Why would they do that?
Like, how can I do that? I mean, I need your password. If you give me this to fix and you don't give me your password, I can't do that.
Why would you put malware on your thing though? Just to control it?
Because we're evil. Because we're independent repair. Because it's stupid. They make arguments that are ridiculous and they say things that are ridiculous. And for me, what's more important is to essentially expose the cockroaches. Put light on the people that are saying things that are not true, saying that magtrometers explode. I want people to know which companies are lobbying against their consumer rights, what arguments they're using when they're lobbying against their consumer rights, and if they're saying things that are untrue to try to confuse the people that you pay to represent you, I want that to be known. I want that to gain more notoriety. It's not about this one bill. It's about the general fact that this is what they do on a regular basis. Because people always talk about how lobbyists pay people off and say this, that, and the other, but there's not really concrete examples. It's just one of these things that's kind of out there in the ether that people say, yeah, they probably lie and do this, and it's just a combined cynicism, and then people move on and get lunch. I want them to actually know. I want them to feel the same anger that I felt 5 years ago when I heard that he said I turned Macs into PCs and then I misrepresented to my customer because I replaced a backlight fuse.
Because they didn't want you to replace.
Yeah, I want there to be legitimate examples. I want to be able to film these so you can hear exactly what they say.
The hypocrisy.
Yeah, like there was someone who's supposed to be a video gaming expert for the ESA for the gaming industry, and they said, the game plays the console. The game plays the console. The console doesn't play the game. The game plays the console. These are the people that are claiming to politicians that they know what they're talking about. I know who they are. And the thing is, I think that eventually there's going to be a societal stigma attached to taking a job as a government relations specialist or a lobbyist that lies in front of a senator. It's one thing if you come there with an argument, because I've respected the arguments. There's some guy that owns a small business, and he has maybe 30 employees, and he wrote his own speech, not like somebody else wrote. And he goes, here's why I think this is bad. I disagree on a few points, but I can respect where you're coming from. You wrote that. But if you're reading from a speech that someone else wrote, and then when you're put on the spot, you just go, and then you just make shit up.
You've been hired, and you're not speaking your voice. You're paid to speak somebody else's voice.
And if that voice is ridiculous, even if the voice said things that were true, I'd get it. But when you say things that are full of crap, I think that there's eventually going to be a societal stigma attached to lying to legislators in order to take away consumer rights.
There will be, bro, because people won't there'll be so much love in the world and honesty and caring for our fellow human being on this earth that people will look at racists, anything like that, with compassion and empathy and be like, look at you, like, we see you, B. Like, you're not speaking your voice. We love you. We want you to speak your voice, right? But
when is that happening?
Man, it could happen in 100 years. Maybe it'll happen in 1,000 years. Maybe it'll happen in 50 years. I don't know. I'm just a person, you know what I'm saying? But
well, it starts from one person, really.
It starts with Lou, yo. That's what Lou says.
So what, you're like a socialist of a tech world?
I'm not a socialist at all.
So Democrat, what is that? Because why do you think people look up to you?
I think people look up to me because of a set of principles. The set of principles are, essentially when it comes to board repairs and things like that, use your brain, be a detective. Don't just go, I'm going to do this because someone else told me to do it.
Yeah, but not in this country. Americans don't like that.
Americans don't like what?
Americans don't really are bored, and I don't think they like to feel. And it's all about like, what's the instruction? What somebody else tells me? What shall I do? Like how I'm gonna work. I'm gonna live by the rules, and you kind of want to change the rules.
I don't think most people want to live by the rules. I just think a lot of people haven't been shown a different way, and I don't think that's something that's particular at any specific country. I mean, there are people that watch what I do from all around the world. I've had students from all around the world. I've had people from the middle of nowhere and and what's called.
Well, I'm talking about it that you're going change legally stuff in America. You're not going to India. You're not going to Europe.
It doesn't have to change everywhere. It only has to change in one place, and then it'll change everywhere else.
That's facts. That's dominoes.
It doesn't matter what approach is taken, whether it is a larger government approach of legislation to force a company to do something, or whether it's a more libertarian approach of let's stop valuing this, like where a fuse is on a board is intellectual property. Let's stop valuing the address of this chip so that when they change last year's model to this year's model, that when they change the address on it, that if somebody rebuilds that chip, that's intellectual property. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you view it from a socialist perspective. It doesn't matter if you view it from a libertarian perspective. It doesn't matter if you view it from a regulatory perspective. There's many different ways, many different paths to get them to stop being dicks.
Yo, this is
I don't put a label on myself of one or the other.
You didn't hear what I said.
No.
Like people actually label people with one thing. So I'm just trying to figure out why are you here.
Lou's not any of those labels that you're saying. Lou's just speaking his truth. He's just speaking his truth.
No, I know, but like what I'm trying to say is from outside perspective. I'm like, okay, why am I gonna go on his YouTube channel?
Because Lou exposes the bullshit. Lou doesn't give a fuck about the bullshit.
Like any tech companies will go after you?
No. What are they going to do?
They love Lou.
Like, what are they
fans?
Are they going to dig up that I was mean to somebody, that I have a mean tweet? Are they going to go, I live my life in an open way, and that's why you can't really find stuff. So if I live my life in a way where, let's say I do board repair videos, and I have them all done perfectly and perfectly edited and no mistakes and no cursing, and then they say, look at what he did in this one. He screwed up because I'm hiding something. I don't hide anything. My site for 12 years, it doesn't hide anything. There's really nothing that you could find or dig up on me that I haven't already put out there. So, I'm
not saying you can. I'm being the devil's advocate.
She's just seeing what you're about, Lou.
I'm just trying to figure out why.
What you're doing. But I will say this about my man,
I think
Lou.
the reason that people watch what I do is because they would like to be in my situation. They want to be in a situation where they can show up in a hearing and explain why a politician is full of crap without having to worry about losing their job. Or getting yelled at by family members because they're not there to watch the kids.
It's more like Aaron Brockovich, but for a tech world.
Kind of.
Yeah, that's
what. Lou Brockovich.
Yeah,
respect.
That's what I think.
I don't think they want to be me. I think they want to be in my I think people that watch may want to be in my position. They don't want to be me. Or they may not even look up to me. They may just like they want to be in the position that I'm in.
Nah, they love
me. They
just
want to have
love
bigger balls that they have, and you have that.
Lou's the guy, man. They respect you, Lou. That's what it is. They love and respect you. I don't think that
you don't change the world if you don't shake the world.
Word.
It's just one of tech world is such a big.
So much
it's
money.
Like a pharma, like big pharma or anything
crazy.
like. There's so much money behind it. I was just thinking about it while you talked. Like a couple of years ago, there were more like repair places. Now it's really hard to find something to fix stuff. So
TechServe was the alternative to the remember TechServe?
I remember TechServe.
Where I feel like Lou became TechServe.
No, there's an ad that came out a few days ago from LG where they have you remember the TV show 24?
Yeah,
they got the clock ticking down. They got the scary music in the background, and they got a guy that's taking a battery that he bought from eBay and putting it into his vape, and he puts it in his pocket and it explodes. And they show you footage of the Samsung Note 7, which doesn't even use 18650s, exploding. And they pretend that that's the battery that you bought from eBay. So I think a lot of companies are. Well, I think it's a combination of things. It's not one. It's that people have a much lower tolerance for risk now than they have in the past. Much lower tolerance for when you were a kid. Were you allowed to go outside and play ball and play catch? And did your parents want to know where you were every single second?
They didn't. I grew up in Brooklyn. They let me roam the block, but that's positives and minuses.
Yeah, but what is that like? Do you think that parents that have a kid today would allow their kid to do that 8 or 10 years
Definitely
from
not,
now?
because we're afraid of rapists now. Yeah. We're afraid of child molesters and
But they existed when you were a kid, did they not?
Yeah, but it's
just
different.
The amount of information that we have now. People spread the news quicker than
people
before.
are scared.
Yeah, you can read about what happened in New Zealand or Australia or Nebraska with that, and then it's always in your face.
Word.
But I think people have a lower tolerance for risk. risk. And I think that companies are taking advantage of that by using the security and safety argument. The battery's going to explode. You used to work on your car. Your car battery can put out 600 amps. You just attach your little jumper cables to it. You're not afraid of exploding? Nobody cared about this stuff as much, but now I think companies are starting to take advantage of the fact that people have a lower tolerance for risk, and they're making the safety and the security arguments, and they're combining that with the fact that people always just kind of want to buy something new. Since like if this breaks, and if something new is available, I didn't really want to get it, but it has that cool feature, but I shouldn't. But this is broken, so I guess I have an excuse to spend money I didn't have now on it. People kind of want an excuse to buy the new one, and if you combine it with it's dangerous to fix it, then people want.
That's the agenda they put out. I also remember when Mac did something where your phone would get slower. You remember this?
Oh yeah, with the iPhones.
And then they were like, "Yo, okay, you can't do that anymore."
Yeah.
But it was like they just did it. They did it like it was a football move. They were like, "We could throw this in the game."
I actually did a test one time. Like I bought an iPhone 5, I think when the 6 was coming out, like maybe a few months before, and it was brand new, iPhone 5C, I think it was. It's just like a cheap one. I just was like, let me do a test. I bought it, and I was just using it on the side, like maybe like if I'm on Wi-Fi or something, because I was traveling a lot. So I would just use it for texting only. And I still had my phone when I came back to New York and stuff. So when the 6 came out, I'm not even lying, I'm not exaggerating. Within a month, I had to like give the phone away, or I forgot, I think I sold it or something, because it was like almost unusable. All the apps would close. The phone like was going super slow. Out of nowhere, when the 6 came out, I was like... Yeah.
Every time a new OS comes out, they optimize it for the new hardware, and they just stop caring about the old one. It isn't even like they're trying to make the old one slow. It's just they're trying to make the new one as good as they can without caring about whether the old one is going to work as well. So like it may take extra effort to make the new phone work well and the old phone work well with the new OS. And like, why put that effort in? Why care?
Right.
I don't think it's in the front of their mind. Let's make the old one slow to screw.
They just want to get that money, though. That's all it is. Yeah, they're not laughing at but like, you know what it makes me feel though? For the people that work hard in this world. I mean, everybody that works hard, but like the people that are making like, they're surviving. They got kids. They're living, and they have a phone, and all of a sudden their phone's not working, and you impose this energy into their life where they're already doing their best to maintain. And now you put this stress on them in a place that they're not really good at with their phone and technology, right? And like that's really like very dark. That's some Matrix shit where it's like, the Matrix theme when all the babies were locked in the thing and they were like smushing them and then like eating them. Like, yo, it's like if we're doing these things, stop doing it. That's what my man Louis saying. I support Louis, man. I know Louis for 13 years, man. Whatever Louis says is right. That's it. Done.
Done.
What other questions we have for Louis? What you have anything else for Louis? I got mad questions for Louis, man.
Oh, go ahead, man.
Yo, my man Louis right here. All right, first off, we bonded over Alice in Chains, right? The love for Alice in Chains.
Haven't heard that in a while.
Yeah, respect to Alice in Chains, right? And so my man Louis, like I told a story. It's like almost like the story of Louis. Like when I could tell stories, right? Like I could tell like stories and get you hyped up, and like I could tell good stories, like. But I told the story of Louis to my other homies, my homie Josh and another homie we were chilling, right? We were smoking in the backyard in Brooklyn, and I just told him, I was like, yo, like, you guys know about Louis? You know what I mean? It's like like if you type this is how I knew, right? This is how I knew. If you type in Mac repair on YouTube, Louis is the first thing to come up, right? So I told my homie Soups, I was like, yo, you know my homie Louis? And he was like, the Mac repair guy? I was like, yeah.
Oh.
So he's like, dude, all you gotta do is type in Mac repair on YouTube and Louis. And I was like, I don't even know if he was joking, right? So he pulled it up. And it was Louis, man. I was like, oh, it's Louis, man. It's like, wow, and like so inspiring, Louis. You're so inspiring, you know what I mean? So when I tell the story of you, you know what I mean? It's like where you started from. You know what I'm saying? And I seen your growth, man. And YouTube is just like the newest thing of what you're doing, and you're even beyond that. You know what I mean?
Oh shit! You do pop up first. I just googled it.
Right?
Sorry.
It's facts.
Oh,
damn.
It's facts.
All right, fine.
So it's like that's so inspiring when you tell the story of Louis, when you tell it from like a factual place where I seen it. You know what I mean? Like I even see Mike Gregory blew up before you. He blew up in 2010. In 2007, Michael Gregory from the Gregory Brothers was also working with me at Louis. Running this studio, which was like, this studio was like a working studio, but like people were like peeing in the hallway. They were cutting their blunt guts and like throwing it. It was like they had the hood element, which is the
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
that brought it down. But it also had this purity of like Dave Levitt let these like ragtag muffin guys like run the studio and like have our own bands and like use the equipment and play out, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that was the studio. We all grew up there, you know? So but Mike Gregory, like he was telling me things about the YouTube in like 2007. I put out a video called Rock Hood and he was like, dude, do. And I didn't even know what he was saying to me, bro. Like I didn't even know what he was saying. I had no concept, right? But by 2010, he had came out the Bed Intruder song, right? And blew up. Hide your kids, hide your wife. And was like,
Yeah.
yo, killed it, right? So Louis, when I seen Louis, but Louis did you did a slower one. You know what I mean? Just as inspiring as Mike. But when I tell the story of Louis, it's like you can't help but feel inspired because it's like you could never have known there would have been you. You know what I'm saying?
If I did, I wouldn't have done it. It's weird because whether I was at Avatar or Play Studios or Progressive, everybody there wanted notoriety. And outside of Michael Gregory, I think I wound up with more notoriety than most of them. And I don't want it.
It was, you
I like to sit in the office soldering in my little corner on my own and doing my thing.
Yeah, you don't need to deal with people.
Yeah.
In a way, you just like let the tech speak for itself and let you put something before you. So you actually don't have an ego in a way.
We wasn't trying to
You
be
have an
famous.
ego when it comes to your work. Let's get that straight. But like you don't have ego when you don't need to deal with people egos.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, it's sanity in a way.
I thought the maximum reach that I would have is about 250 people because I was thinking maybe there's 3 or 4 board repair shops in every state that do this particular thing. And if every single one of them watched at the same time, that's never going to happen. That'll be 250 people watching. That was because like, if I thought originally that many people would watch, I probably would have just, blurred out my face, not used my real name or anything.
Man, when I was on the phone with Baby G, when we went to your spot, right? And you said the same thing. You were like, I was like, yo, G, I'm hanging out with Louis. And she's like, yeah, like I heard that you're famous now, right? And you told G's, you were like, I don't want to be famous. And she was like, hey, but that's how it goes sometimes. Like, like we were in a place where like everybody want to be famous. All these singers and dancers, everybody want to have that spotlight.
It's a
and
whole
like,
different world.
Louis, you would never, ever, out of all your bets, you were gonna like bet a chip like this was like, that's gonna be the guy that's gonna blow
come on,
up.
we're talking about tech guys. And
But Louis
you
wasn't
have
even
your-
a tech guy
The
then.
whole thing is you have your own cloud. You have, because you were not looking for it, you got it because you're actually genuine about
I
it.
think it's the principle of wanting to clean up your corner of the world. It doesn't matter what you do. You could be a janitor, you could be a
Yeah,
guitar player, you
yeah.
could be even in just my own little corner. I fix motherboards that got liquid spilled on them. And there are so many problems there that keep me from doing what I do well. So let me try to clean up each individual one. Why is it hard to get this chip? This company tells them they can't get it. Why is that legal? This person tells that lobbyist something and they lie. Why doesn't anybody show up? Nobody takes the time. So I show up and record it.
Do you hang out with people outside work?
Not often. I don't like people.
That's what I thought. So
I like to read my paper or listen to my music and then go to sleep.
do you have like rituals every day that you do before, or you just go straight up to work? Are you
do work.
workaholic?
Kind of. I
Kind
do
of.
my work. I go to the gym. I mess with my bike. I go home. I read my paper. I listen to Jar of Flies.
Respect.
I go to sleep. Rinse,
Respect.
repeat.
Jar of Flies, man. Alice in Chains album was acoustic. 5-6 songs on that, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like any other Alice in Chains album. Real
Nutshell and
respect.
Rotten Apple are amazing.
Yo, good tones, man. Alice in Chains had the dopest tones and harmonies, man. I got this. I go to thrifting and I got this Taproot hoodie for $1, and I had to look up like who was Taproot, and it came out like 2000, the new metal time, and I heard this one song and I was like if you heard it, the Taproot song, you'd be like, oh, I remember this song, but I had not heard it in like 20 years, and I listened to it and I was like, dudes, you're so influenced by Alice in Chains. At the same time, it's like there's a new metal thing happening, right? But you can't deny the Alice in Chains-ness. Alice in Chains was so influential, just as Nirvana and any of those bands, but I don't think they got the same acclaim because they didn't have the
They were out there for a little bit, but kind of died
You
down
were
quick.
big in Europe.
Alice in Chains.
That's
respect.
huge. That's what
More successful than here in the U.S.
I think so too. Yeah, genuine too.
That's dope. That's dope.
So I have a question. So what's the next thing in the tech world? Like where are we going with it?
I have no idea.
No, I mean
I thought the iPhone was hysterical. Like, people want a computer on their phone. This is going to crash, really? Nobody's going to buy this shit. Like, I'm wrong with every tech prediction. I have no idea.
So it's VR or AI?
AI for sure.
So probably
I think
VR.
the world is already.
So probably if you're wrong, so that's gonna be VR.
It's gonna be both, man. It's gonna be
people,
both.
people don't seem to be that excited about VR and what it offers. I think AI is already. I mean, there's already so many areas where it's in your life. Like just look at YouTube. YouTube is the best example of what it is like when your boss is an AI. How do you know when you've done something right or wrong? Because the thing is, YouTube lists a set of rules. Now there are times where I do things that directly break it. So for instance, there was this one video I did a long time ago after a very frustrating experience with someone who got paid $20,000 to install a program who couldn't plug in a monitor. It was IT specialist can suck my dick. I had a partner manager, and that person had reached out to me to talk about the new policy regarding curses in the title and all that. And we spoke for about a half hour on why this is on why things like that don't work. A week after I get off the phone with her, I see this random spike, and I go into my YouTube analytics, and it wasn't from an external source, it wasn't from a website, it was just the algorithm deciding to recommend this video to an additional 200,000 people for no reason.
Wow.
So the rule is that you can't do this, yet whatever the algorithm is promotes it. And so then you're going to start doing, okay, well, my boss just gave me a raise. Let me keep doing whatever it is that I was told I should do.
Right.
And then when it goes, nope, you can't, but you can't actually reach out to them to ask. So I think that YouTube is one of the best examples of what it is like when your manager is an AI and not a human. And I think that you're going to see it in more aspects of life. It's not going to be AI as in there's robots that walk around that act like people. I think it's going to be there's more elements like this where your purchases or everything like that are going to be AI based. For example, with Amazon, I think the next thing they're probably going to do, I'm not the one who said this, a bunch of people have, is that they're just going to eventually start sending you a box of stuff and say, here's what, take the stuff that you like, put back the stuff that you don't
Lame.
like. And they're just going to start, they're going to figure out what you want.
Don't do that,
You
guys.
love that hat.
I don't want that. That's
It's
horrible.
Amazon.
There was a movie like that.
That's
Like
horrible,
YouTube already
man.
suggests you content based on this ridiculous profile of who you are as a human. Amazon recommends you things
It's
based on
lame.
these
You
things.
completely lose who you are as a person.
Yeah, you really just lose your personality.
And then
your
and then if
soul.
you start going to the AI gods, first off, they're dressing you now. They're telling you what to dress, and they tell you what to listen to, right? And then they'll tell you what to make.
How many people have their own personality, though?
You
That's
do.
the thing that you really
we all
figure
do.
out.
I do.
We all do.
Unfortunately, I do. I would like to don't have it, but sometimes.
Everybody does. It just.
I just saw on Instagram a fashion show, and actually in VR, you just basically picked up a phone and showed you a model, but the clothes were on a mannequin just sitting there. So there was no people, there were just clothes.
Oh, AI models.
Yeah, weird. I'm like, where?
Everything's changing, man.
Yeah, everything's
Life's changing. You know what
Yeah,
I
it
mean?
was
It's gonna
men's
keep
fashion
changing.
show. I just want to look at hot guys. That's really weird.
Who doesn't? You know what I'm saying? Anyways, how long have we been recording for? Yo, you guys, can you guys come on the camera? You guys have never been on the camera before, except for
We have
except
the
for
glowed up team.
Jackson when you've been
I
walking
don't know
around
the hoodie.
sometimes.
I don't know about that.
Why not? What's wrong? It's black. Everything black.
Oh, we support.
You already know we support black.
We support.
What?
Shout
Everything
out
black.
to
For
Blab
life.
Chat, man.
Looking forward to Illmind being on the show.
Of course.
That's gonna be dreams come true.
You need to wear the hoodie when he's on the show, so he knows.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's the big homie. That's
Come-
big bro.
Is the camera on us right now?
Yes.
Yo,
What's going on, everybody?
introduce yourself. Talking to the mic. Talking to the mic.
Peace, peace, and Jackson. Follow me on IG, the bro Jackson.
Gotta throw that in there.
What do you do on the, what do you do on the show, Jackson?
The camera work. So when they're switching the different camera angles and stuff, that's your boy.
He makes us look.
But he's
pretty.
also a genius in a lot of other aspects. I'll let you follow him on, what is it? Say it one more time.
At the bro Jackson.
And
all
then you'll find out.
platforms. Yes, please do.
My man got triple karate black
Right.
belt with the tips.
And then we got the mad
Captive.
scientist. We got the evil
Mad
genius.
evil genius.
But he's very chill today. Hey.
Tell the people.
What do I do? I'm the audio guy, so the reason why it sounds the way it does is because of me.
Yeah.
Sure.
You could find Captive.
Oh yeah, IG Captive 2 underscores.
There you
In
go.
front of and the back.
From the back, baby.
Louis, yo, thank you guys for coming on the camera. I want to make sure that everybody sees you
guys.
The
guys.
glowed
This
up
was
fam.
awesome.
Word, it's the
Thank you.
squad.
was
Louis,
fun.
is there anything else that you want to tell the people out there? How come you're not on the IG?
I don't have one.
Why?
How come you're not on the IG?
Why should I have one?
I don't know.
Well-
I don't have the answer to that. I just wanted to
I
just
don't have
ask
an Instagram, a Twitter, or a Facebook.
Well, you have YouTube. That's enough.
you. You do have YouTube.
Do people? Yeah. Do you get a lot of direct messages on YouTube?
No, they turned off the messaging feature, so
Oh,
you
you
can't
can't
get
even do
messages
it.
on it.
You can't even message people. You can
Email's
comment on.
better,
You
though.
can comment on their things,
There's
and you can see the
comments.
comments.
I actually read every email that I get though, like Louis@rossmangroup.com.
You see?
A lot of it gets
There you
filtered
go.
out because most people spell it with one N, so a lot of that is just kind of going to some other Louis. But
Some other Lewis's Gmail blowing up.
That's what I always do.
Tired of
Like
these emails.
when I sign to like public internet, I write just my name, and then I realize, oh, some Malgosia in Poland or somewhere else gets that.
when Facebook bought Instagram, I deleted mine.
Yeah, you were on Facebook and that, and then you
I used to have
disappeared.
that a long time ago.
Where?
Knowing everything there is to know about people that I know on Facebook was just not healthy. There's so many things I'm reading where it's just, I don't need to hear your opinion on this. I don't want to read your argument about it. I don't want to see your vacation. I don't want to see what you're mad at. I don't want to see what you ate today.
Oh, I only kept my Facebook for my mother, really.
I actually felt mentally better after I deleted my Facebook and Instagram. I felt happier.
Okay.
Respect.
Everyone has their reasons to do that, man.
Yeah, I mean that's you can do that. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
It just feels weird sometimes. Oh, not feels weird. It sounds weird when people tell you that. They're like, yo, I'm not even nah. But like, yo, it's just so
It
nah.
does feel a little off because of like how important it is to a lot of people.
Yeah, to a lot of
know?
people, it is important.
But there's always the block and unfollow button. You know, like
I
you
like
want-
mute.
mute. Okay.
Yeah.
So then they don't think that you're the bad person, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh,
I
she
kn-
still, she
no-
still follows me.
No,
but-
actually, I never unfollow. I always mute. But recently, I unfollowed 2 people.
Damn, what did they do?
I,
They must have done something crazy.
I never want to.
Did they unfollow you back?
One of them did. The other one doesn't.
Oh,
The one
worse.
with not a penis. She unfollowed
Worse.
me.
Oh yeah, that's a cat thing to do.
There
It's
was
like,
one thing Facebook did in 2014 where they were purposely curating people's feeds so that you would only see first the really sad stuff, and another set of people you would only see the really happy stuff, and they wanted to see would it affect that person's mood. So let's say everything in
course
your
it
feed
will.
for a few weeks is really sad stuff. They would analyze your post and see if it actually made you sadder.
Of course it did.
But they didn't disclose to people that they were
Oh my
doing
God.
this experiment.
You know what
That's
it is?
horrible.
That was
He
it for me
is
with Facebook.
Matrix.
Yo, my man Lewis got the
He
eye on
is
everything.
Matrix.
Word.
Oh,
We
yeah.
need,
Like
we
when
need
I
you.
look at you, I just see the numbers, Matrix,
The
and
code,
the
the codes
code.
and
My
the-
man, is one of them. Yo, he's one of them.
Matrix
The
4
code.
coming
That
out.
should be the beginning
it?
of your
Yeah.
videos. Just
With
little
him?
numbers with your
Keanu Reeves?
name.
4. Yeah.
Like the intro should be all the Matrix number with your name. That should be you.
Word. What would be your Matrix name? Like Neo or like they got all these different
Louis.
names.
Louis.
Nah. What would your Matrix
Agent
name?
L.
PP Bus G3 Hot.
What would it be?
PP Bus G3 Hot.
PP
The main
Bus?
Power rail on a MacBook.
Dude, you have to slow that down. Say that again. What you
PP
said?
Bus G3 Hot.
You said PP Bus
G3 Hot. Underscore G3 Hot, actually.
G3 Hod. What does that even mean?
It's the main power rail on a MacBook.
It's the Matrix.
Oh God! You see, that's the mic drop, and that's how when we're supposed to just finish. Because I don't really feel that smart right now. I need to go and like eat my feelings.
PP
Shit.
Bus. Yo, shout out to my man PP Bus Lewis. Holding it down. Second ever guest. This has been great. Is there anything else that we want to add to the people?
No,
I'm gonna look
I'm-
at some Mac repairs.
and I'm gonna go look for my brain. Like how to feed that.
Definitely.
I need to get some omega-3s.
Lewis, my brother.
Thank you for having
Thanks
me
for
on.
Yo,
coming
thank
on
you
the
for
show,
coming, bro.
man.
Thank you.
We are the Glowed Up Show. That's what Atlas will say. We are the Glowed Up Show.
Glowed up.
And we'll be back in a new episode. Peace.
Bye.